Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Airdrie Inside. We're telling the stories behind the heroes that you have here in the great city of Airdrie. Once again, this is brought to you by our sponsors, and today's episode is brought to you by the Pest Control Guy. Go to thepestcontrolguy.ca for all of your pest needs. Anton, the owner of the Pest Control Guy, is a longtime Airdrie resident. He supports a lot of causes here in Airdrie, so if you have any pest needs, he's your guy. Check him out. I am honored today to have two wonderful guests. I have Dawn Sorsdahl and Alivia Trudeau from the Airdrie Raiders Female Tackle Football Team. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us, Chris.
So, as you guys both know, I am a huge proponent of football in all forms. It's something that's near and dear to my heart as a football coach. And I really wanted to take this time to highlight what I think is an incredible growing version of the sport, and one that Airdrie is leading the way in. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Dawn as the head coach of the Female Tackle Football Raiders team. Dawn, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Chris. This is so exciting to be here.
Now, let's talk about yourself a little bit. I know that's everybody's favorite topic, but you're new to female football, but you're not new to football. Tell me about your background in the sport.
Well, I started 10 years ago with the Airdrie Bantam Raiders. I started as a conditioning coach just because they only had four coaches for the team. So a lot of parent coaches stepped up for that second season. And my son has started playing. He's been playing actually since Adam, so since he was 8. And so when the Bantam team was struggling, that's when I started in as a conditioning coach. And then the following season, I was conditioning coach and manager. And then I moved to Church High School and I was there for 8 seasons. And then now I'm in my third season with the female team.
So 8 years coaching tackle football on the men's side, and your
Yes.
second year, correct?
Going into my third.
Going into your third year.
Third
Okay,
with
and
female.
I promise you, I'm not going to hold the fact that I have two Church Chargers here on the pod here. It's excellent to see the crossover, but your background isn't just in football; it's in a kinesiology background. So tell me a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, so I went back to school when I was 36 and decided I wanted to be a personal trainer and working with people. And I work with all ages from my youngest has been like 2 to 4 year olds in a program from Alberta Health Services, and my oldest client is 92. So I work with athletes, with people with injuries, postnatal, menopausal, you name it. I train everybody. So it's actually amazing. I actually love my job, and I don't even see it as a job. I wake up every morning and just fly to work. It's awesome. Yeah.
Now, what motivated you to get started in the six-a-side brand of football?
Well, Dana actually reached out to me. So she was the manager, sorry, the head coach at the time. Wanted to know if I wanted to join the girls' team just to have like a female coach on the field. And so I started up as a running back coach, and I thought my years of coaching was going to be coming to the end. And within probably the first couple minutes of seeing the girls and being around the team, I was in it. And at the end of my first season, they asked if I wanted to be head coach, and I was, yeah, I can't say no. Like it was absolutely amazing. The girls were wonderful, and it's just brilliant to work with. So
It was off to the races.
yes.
Now, your team has had some success on the individual level. One member of your team actually represented Football Alberta this summer. So I'm going to throw it over to your quarterback and our
Yes, yes.
U18 representative from Football Alberta, Alivia Trudeau. Olivia, welcome to the show.
Hi, Chris. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm very excited.
You were really excited when I talked to you, and that smile hasn't left your face, so it's good to see. What motivated you to join the Female Raiders? What brought you to the team?
Yeah, so I was actually watching my younger brother's flag football practice, and I was sitting in this chair and I'm looking out, and there were so many little girls on the football field. And I never thought that football was for girls, and it was never like on my list of things that I thought I could do. And so I'm sitting there and I'm watching, and they were so amazing. They're hitting the boys, they're throwing, they're running, everything. And so I made it my goal that day to play football. And so I did some research, and I found out that the Airdrie Raiders came out with a new girls team the year before. And I was so excited, I registered right away. And the first practice, I met Dawn, who was, like she said, the running back coach at the time. And I knew I loved her right away. We did a couple tryouts, and I found out that I was going to be the starting quarterback for the team, which I was really excited about. And after the first season, I had such a great time. There's lots of learning curves, which you'd expect as trying a new sport. And I later went on to coaching a young boys football team as well. And I really believe in giving back to the community and also learning by doing. So by teaching these boys how to play football and 12-a-side, etc., I kind of learned more about how I coach and my style of leadership. Right. And I learned a lot about patience, because a bunch of 10-year-olds really get on your nerves.
You find out what kind of communicator you are when you start dealing with 10-year-olds. I find they don't fill in the blanks as well as the high school kids. So I kind of struggle sometimes when I get down to coaching the younger kids.
Yeah, right.
So, okay, so you've decided to join this team. What are the big differences between 6-a-side and 12-a-side? Because for the average listener, they might not know. So if you could walk me through a bit of the rule differences and how you go about approaching the game.
Okay, so obviously 12 is, or 6 is half as 12, so we have half as many girls. Our field width is also cut down shorter, because it would be too easy if you had a whole field length with only 6 girls on the team.
Right.
And especially with Team Alberta, I learned that you can really manipulate how many are on the line to see who gets the ball and who's eligible to receive the ball. So I think I've never played 12-a-side, so I wouldn't really know the difference between the two too much, but I love 12 or 6-a-side, and I think it's great for a start for girls. I'd like to see 12-a-side too one day. I think that would be really cool as well.
Right. Once more players come to the league, yeah. I know in Alberta it's pretty nascent right now, and the teams are starting to form and starting to come together. Dawn, how many teams are in the league that you play in right now?
Currently we have 5. Lethbridge actually steps aside this season because they were just having trouble forming a U19 team.
Right.
But yeah, so we have 5. So we have Red Deer, Okotoks, the Colts, we have the Wildcats, and then ourselves. So we have 5. And then there's 5 up in Northern Alberta as well.
Now, is there a provincial playoff yet, or is that to come, where Calgary plays the Edmonton teams, or North plays South maybe?
We do a jamboree. Last season we had a jamboree where all the teams were invited from, and so what they did was they played like North against South in the jamboree,
right.
And then but we don't have a North-South. Well, we do actually. We do. Olivia, don't we go into? We haven't been into the playoffs high enough to go up, but yeah, we do play North and South for provincial. Yes.
I think eventually, if you get up there, you can go against all.
It goes up. Yeah.
Yeah. Right, and as more teams get added, that provincial playoff and that league playoff is going to get more robust.
Yes.
Alivia, when I coach high school football, a lot of the guys who have never played before are actually quite intimidated coming out. They may not know the rules. They may be intimidated by the tackling aspect and the contact. Is that the same with 6-a-side and female football, or have you experienced that?
100% it is. Every new girl that's interested in joining the team, they always say, "Oh, but I'm going to get hurt." And right. I try to explain to them that we go through so many safe hitting procedures, and really you have so much gear on that sometimes when you hit, it hurts. I'm going to be honest, but you get back up again and you do it for your team, and it's the aspect of not letting your teammates down. And so I always like to say, you never know unless you try. That's my big thing in life is, if I hadn't registered for the Airdrie Raiders, then I wouldn't have had the numerous of connections I have today. So That's why I try to tell new girls every time they're kind of cautious about joining.
And I'll throw it over you to Coach Dawn. for parents out there who are thinking, like I'm the father of two girls and I think
Yes,
they're
yes.
the most precious things in the world and I never
Yes.
want anything to happen to them, yet I'm a football coach, so I do want them to
Yes.
play football. Can you talk to me about safe contact and the amount of work that Football Canada and Football Alberta's done in making sure coaches run safe practices and the games are operated in a safe environment?
Yeah, of course. So every coach that's on the field has to go through a safe contact coaching session. And then we even do direct contact to person, we do like 3 days of the safe contact drills.
Right.
It's more like rugby drills. And we try to get a lot of rugby players out because we hit similar to them and they hit without gear.
Yep.
We have
Right.
gear, right? So I think if they can hit without gear, we can actually hit with gear, right? So I noticed, if you don't mind me telling, like, so when I started my first season, it was 2 weeks. We have new players coming in, and we were teaching them how to hit, how to fall. We were teaching them the playbook. We were teaching them just even football knowledge and IQ. So what I did was to break it down, and I know that a lot of girls struggle with it because a lot of them didn't even watch football before,
Right.
right? And last season, actually, one of the girls, she won't admit it, but her mom said because of Taylor Swift, she actually wanted to play football. So
Wow.
she won't admit it. I won't even say who it is, but I really wanted to break down the skills so it's easier for them, right? So it wasn't so
Right.
much knowledge in the first 2 weeks, right? So that's where we started the football 101 sessions, and we're doing it this again this season again. And we're breaking it down offense and defense and just really basic terms, basic skills, so that when we get actually on the field a week prior to our actual preseason, that first week on the field, we're actually going to have a crash mat where the girls will be like learning how to fall because that's where a lot of the concussions come from. Females is from like the neck and not properly falling. So we teach them how to fall and to do light contact hits so that when we get onto the field for actual season prep, they've already had about 8 weeks prior of knowledge that it's not a big, such huge learning curve for them, right? So,
Right. And I don't
yeah.
think the average listener or even the fan of football has become aware of the retraining that coaches have gone through over the
Hmm.
past decade with the focus on
Yeah.
concussions and the
Yeah.
focus on safety. It's a different game than it was 10 years ago, and we're all
100%.
equipped to teach it differently than it was. So,
Yeah,
so what you're saying is it's a safe place for your daughters to
it
come
is.
and
It's a very
learn and play the sport.
It's very safe. Over the years talking to parents of boys, and they're
Right.
like, "Oh, but my son has a red foot from kicking," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, it's football, and he was a kicker, so his foot's going to be red from kicking like all practice. But well, what if he gets hit?" And I'm like, "Well, we teach him how to get hit, and we
Right.
teach the how to hit. So yes, injuries do occur, but injuries occur in soccer, injuries occur in gymnastics and dance. So we take as much precautions as we can, and it's very much a focus for us as coaches to be sure that they are safe on the field. So
Right.
yeah.
Now, when it comes to opportunities for females to excel in football and to grow in their career, I've seen a lot more avenues open up in the past, probably the past decade, from
Mhm.
Football Canada, from Football Alberta. Olivia, can you talk to me about your experience this summer with Football Alberta and what that was like?
Yeah, of course. It was my second season with the Raiders, and I went to my coaches and I'm like, do you even think I'm good enough for Team Alberta? Because I just found out about it and I really want to try. And every single one of them was like, we have your back, we believe in you, you're amazing. And so, with all that support I had, I went to the tryouts and I got there and I was actually amazed with how many girls were actually there who have played football, and more than half of them have come from male teams. So they didn't come from a female team like me. They actually went through the dirty, and like there were so many stories I learned about different things, etc. But it was amazing. So during the tryouts, you kind of learn the playbook more and more each time.
Right.
And by the end of the third tryout, they went from around 75 girls down to 22 that would represent Alberta on a national level. And so I got that email saying, congratulations, you're on the team. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I freaked out a lot. Let's just say that. And a couple weeks later, we all got on a plane to go to Fredericton, New Brunswick, where the tournament was being held last year.
Wow.
And it was crazy. I haven't traveled too much myself, so going across Canada was really cool. And we stayed in these university dorms. They stunk. They were so hot. But it was a bonding experience because you're all in it together, right? And so we were there. We were there for 10 days, and we had 3 games. And we would practice 1 to 2 times a day. Like, we were exhausted at the end of it, but it was so much fun. And so we played against Quebec, Manitoba, and Ontario. And in the end, we came back with silver. And I was really proud about the team because we all worked our butts off. And I think I was just so grateful and lucky to be beside such amazing athletes. Even my opponents, they were so amazing. And I was seeing girls from all over the country come together. And the funny thing is, the opponents I played in the league, Airdrie, they were all on my team. So they're all like, yeah, you're that quarterback from the Raiders. I'm like, yep, yeah. So
you're the girl who ran me over in the summer.
Right? Yeah. So it's like the mixture, and then you learn to like each other and love each other, and you go through sweat and tears on the field. So sweat, blood, and tears on the field. So it was amazing. I loved it so much, and I'm really looking forward to the next season. And this will be my last one in 2025, so I'm going to make it count for sure.
And do you have aspirations to play on past high school? And I know the Calgary Rage has been very successful operating here in Calgary. Is that something you're interested in as well?
100%. I'd love to. I'd also like to come back and coach for the Raiders, the team that started it all for me. I feel like that's a really important thing to me, as I want to see the team do better than how I started out with, and just keep seeing the scale of it getting better and better, right? And I've been looking at the Calgary Rage recently, but then also for really shooting for the stars, I've been looking at the Female Flag Olympics that's being held in 2028 and 2032, I believe. And so if we're really going out there, I think that's an amazing, astounding opportunity, and I think it'd be really cool to do it too.
Well, nobody's going to accuse you of not being ambitious. That's a pretty lofty goal.
Yeah.
Now, Coach Dawn, you must be super proud to have somebody like Alivia on your team, a trailblazer who is the first Airdrie representative from Football Alberta. That's got to be impressive for you.
Oh, I was extremely impressed and happy when she made that team. So I was a guest coach that first practice, and being in the room with all the coaches and having that experience at Football Alberta. And then they brought up Olivia's name, and I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, they're talking about Alivia. But of course, I can't say anything to Alivia. And I knew before she knew that she was on the team, and I was waiting for that message from her saying I made it. And I was extremely proud. I watched the games online and wish I was there, but yeah,
I know, she was like, it was so funny because I let her know, and she's so happy, and I doubted myself so much during those tryouts, and she's like, you got this. The whole time she knew I was already on the roster, so I was like, thank you, Dawn. All that worrying could have ended, but it was all worth it in the end, of course.
Yeah, and there was a couple times that she messaged me when she was like down east, and I'm like, it's okay, you got this. Like, just be you, and just be your best. You got this.
Now, I did watch, I believe, 2 out of 3 of the games, and you were very poised under center, and you did a really good job of commanding the offense. How much of the game is passing versus running in the 6-a-side version of the game?
Because you're having new girls that haven't played this sport before, throwing a ball at your face at really hard speed is really hard for a lot of girls. So 100% it's dependent on the defense. If your defense is more sprawled out, then you might want to run it up the middle. If your defense is tighter, then you can run it off the side. But I think in Team Alberta, there was a lot of runs. I got the very first touchdown of the tournament by a run. I just kept going, and then I did a fake, and I ran it, and I went so hard, and it was so cool. But I definitely think it's maybe a little more running than passing in the end.
Right, so that 60-40 kind of spread.
Yeah.
That's great. Now, Don, what side of the ball are you more focused on? Are you more of the head coach side, or are you more offense or defensive focused?
Uh, I should say I'm head coach, but I mean I've been on like I was running back coach at the high school as well, so definitely that's my forte, and I try to learn the defense, and they start talking, and I'm like I have no idea what you guys are talking about, and I keep learning, but I know my focus this year is to be a little bit more versatile on all sides, but with us having the two teams, we are splitting the coaches up, so I have to be uh, pretty much in any position coaching. So I've learned all the nuances of every position that I can step in if I have a coach missing
Right.
um, at any time. So, but yeah, as head coach, Chris, what do you pick?
Actually, now I'm relegated to special teams, so
Okay, there you go.
that's pretty much all I
Good
do these
answer right
days.
there.
Okay.
That and make sure the other coaches are in position and that kind of thing. So,
Okay.
but it's interesting because as a head coach who's been more on the offensive side, to start a new journey, learning a new position, you really start from square one, and you could coach 25 years and still have things to learn and have things to grow. So I can relate to that experience, Don.
Yeah, and as a trainer, like I mean, I break down skills all the time, every single day with every single client. So, I mean, if I know that a D line coach is not going to be there, I'll just watch the D line that day, and I will
Right.
maybe like YouTube a drill, but I can step in, and I mean that's where my strength is I can break down any drill and just step in anytime I need to. So.
Excellent. And now you said something that I want to touch on.
Mhm.
There's going to be two teams this year. So tell me about the
Yeah.
split and tell me about the different age
Oh,
groups.
yeah, yeah. So the first season I was there, so the first 2 years, because we were going into fourth year with the Raiders, is it was just a U18 team. So it was grades 8 to like 11,
Yeah.
uh, which it didn't allow any of the grade 12 girls to play. So last season they went into, it split into U16 and U19. So grades 7, 8, 9, and then 10, 11, 12. So we didn't have enough girls to have two teams. So last year we played a combined team. So very young players, like half the team was U16, half the was U19, but we
Wow.
had to play against all the U19 teams. So we were there. We had a lot of skill. The coaches actually were from the other teams were very impressed with the fact that we had very young. But yeah, this year, my focus after last season was on recruitment. And
Right.
for our open house tryout, we had 28 girls show up. We had 17 total last year.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, and I have about 35 on my email list. So we will definitely have a U16 and U19 team this year. So
That's tremendously exciting
yeah,
to see the game
yeah,
grow and to become accessible to more people.
yes,
I've always been a proponent that football teaches some great lessons and builds uh, teamwork and camaraderie on a level that no other sport can really touch. And it's just great to see the game growing. Airdrie has been kind of a hotbed of football as of late, with all three high school teams having great seasons.
Mhm.
The Bantams winning the Bantam Championship, and then being a finalist for provincials. The Calgary Spring football team winning the league championship as well. Football as a whole is healthy in Airdrie and growing stronger and stronger.
Yes.
So it's great to see a female component to that to round it all out. Now, my personal mission is to get more events here in Airdrie and to bring more things here to Airdrie. What are the chances we're going to have a female home game this year at Ed Edgar on the
Ooh.
turf?
I'm actually been trying to book the field, but because Airdrie football is getting really big, there's a lot of competition of
Right.
when the field is available. And then because we have the two teams, we have to kind of navigate. So um, probably the end of May, we should have two home games.
That would be awesome.
So yes, yeah,
I'm sure.
that was the first thing I asked. Is like I asked my commissioner, like, hey, can we have a game in Airdrie, especially with that turf field?
Yeah.
And she was like, of course. So I've handed it off to her to help book as an organization
Right.
so that we can get that field. And I wanted to make a big event. I want to have fireworks. I want to have smoke bombs. I want to have everything, right? Like we want to have the girls to come out and say we are here and we belong in football.
Well, and I know the events at Ed Edgar this high school season were pretty special and pretty
Yes.
packed. So I know Airdrie is going to turn up for those home games and give you the same love that the high school teams had this summer.
Yeah, I hope so.
Now, Olivia, what's the team look like this season? So this is a good chance to trash talk uh, Coach Greg over at the Wildcats and all our friends down with the Eagles and the Colts. I'll give you a chance to tell me about what the team looks like and what we can expect from the Raiders this year.
Yeah, so from my understanding, we're getting way more coaches, and we're getting more coaches for specific positions. So, like, we're going to be having a quarterback coach because in the past we had a couple coaches that knew a little bit, but not really a quarterback coach. So, I'm
Right.
personally excited for that. And growing girls, we're going to have more opportunities for film sessions inside of Bird Church. We're going to be using Bird Church's kind of not equipment, but their bags and such, and practice kind of equipment. And my personal goal for this season for the girls is I want to win, obviously, like every person does, but I
Right.
want there to be personal successes. If a new girl makes their first ever touchdown, I want that to be celebrated, kind of thing, because little achievements like that become big achievements. So I also want to be a good leader on the team again, where I want to be I want to be a welcoming leader. So the first year when I played football, I didn't really have that girl that I could ask the stupidest questions about because I didn't know the sport. So I want
Right.
to be that kind of person that they can ask me whatever they want. They can ask what a football is, and I'll tell them with a smile and a pat on the back. And I want a full and healthy team, because a healthy team where you all love each other and you're a big family, that's what wins games.
Right. I don't think you're going to have trouble being that leader from what you're saying here. I could see Dawn smiling
Yes,
ear
she's
to ear with what you're saying.
yes.
Dawn, what's it like having a leader like Olivia on the team?
Actually, Olivia has been amazing, and we have actually quite a few leaders on the team. The
Right.
girls, like that's the difference between the boys and the girls, is the boys, like the really good players, have these big egos, and sometimes they help out, sometimes they don't. Whereas the
Right.
girls, they have egos, but they're wanting to make the team better, right? Because you're only as strong as your weakest link, and they just keep encouraging, and they have that support. And uh, like, there's no mean girls, there's no drama. Like, and I know that between girls' sports, sometimes that is an issue. I've never seen it. Like, these girls are absolutely amazing. It is a family. We have fun. Uh, that was my goal last year, was to create an environment that was welcomed for everybody, for all like sizes, abilities, skills, and just to have fun and feel like they belong somewhere, right? Yeah.
That's
Did you?
always what I've been in love with football for is uh, football is a sport that has a home for everybody. You know, if you're tall, it has a home. If you're
Yeah.
skinny, it has a home. If you're bigger, I mean, there's not a coach in football anywhere that I've ever met who says I have enough linemen.
Yes.
You know, so
Exactly.
this is really a sport that welcomes everybody. I
Yes.
can imagine in what's only the fourth year of the team's history,
Mhm.
there are some needs. So talk to me about
Mhm.
how people could support the Raiders and how they can come
Oh,
out and help out.
well, I the first season when I started, the girls were wearing the old Bantam jerseys. So of course, when the jerseys are retired, like you know this from like high school, that we usually
Yeah.
sell them or give them away. So I had girls who were a size small wearing two extra large jerseys. So my goal was to get jerseys that were theirs and theirs alone, not used jerseys. So I
Right.
had two sponsors that stepped up and we were able to purchase jerseys, home and away jerseys last season. This season, our league fees have gone up, but I still want to keep our fees for the players lower.
Right.
So, because that just becomes a barrier,
Yeah.
right? Especially with girls in sports, girls in football. Uh, Maybe some parents would be like, well, it's really expensive. We're not going to have you play because that could just be a reason why.
Right.
So, a few ways is like fundraising, sponsorships, that kind of stuff. Coming to our home games and supporting the girls. Um, Having like we love to have food trucks to come out, making it a big event, so like almost like homecoming, but all
Right.
girls, right? So I might even put out invitations. I don't know, just to the community, just to bring out the little girls, right? And just so
Lots
they
of
can have a little
ideas.
celebration, right? Just something. I don't know. I just want to make it a big event because, I mean, we went to a middle school for recruitments, and I had Olivia, I had Brianna, and I had Veronica come, and we're talking to these girls. We have all these grade 7, 8 girls in front of us. There's about 100 of them. And I say my spiel, Olivia talks, Brianna talks, and Veronica. And then we open it up to questions. And it was a lot of like, I've never played a sport before, or what is it like to be hit? Um, I'm really scared about playing. And uh, it was at the end, I just kept hearing words like as they were leaving, like, I feel really empowered,
Right.
right? And these are grade 7 and 8 girls who feel empowered. And a lot of them actually showed up to our open house, right? And I had a lot of parents come up to me. Like I had 5 parents during the open house saying, my daughter has never played. She has very high anxiety. Um, how do you going to deal with mental health on the team, right? And I'm like, wow, okay, well, I don't think I've ever been asked that at like any of the boys' teams, but
Right.
girls and anxiety and right. And um, all they can tell like afterwards at the end is all the girls were smiling. So even
Yeah.
the ones who were crying on the way in left with a smile and they were in for football. So all my coaches are in to make sure it's a very positive environment. Like girls don't go for laps. Like
Right.
you tell a girl to go for a lap, why? What am I going to learn from it?
It's a very different dynamic. You yell at
Yeah,
them and
right?
they don't want to play anymore, and then they're upset, and it's just a whole mess. So
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, why should I go for a lap? What am I going to learn from this? And it's like, well, like, whereas a boy, you blow your whistle and they go for laps, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's a different dynamic, but we want to make it a very positive and just an environment that, yeah, it's a little anxious to be on the field, but that's okay. And everyone belongs. And I mean, we're a big family. We eat pickles. We drink pickle juice after a
you
touchdown.
can't just say that. You have to
Good.
explain why.
All right, Olivia, tell me the pickle story here. Come on now.
So I don't know. I think it was after a practice or something, and all the girls were just saying random food groups they liked, and someone's like, "I really like pickles." And then Dawn heard, and Dawn's like, "I love pickles." And so we made it a tradition that after every game, however many touchdowns you got, you had to chug pickle juice. And so I think one game I had like 5 touchdowns. I had to chug like half that jar, and all I was like trying not to puke in the change room, but we're all cheering and having fun, and so
Yeah,
now it's just our kind of unique little thing that our team does, and it's like a
yeah,
little tradition.
yeah. And I hope we have lots because I have to finish the jar.
Yes, a high scoring game helps you out.
Yep.
Yes, right. And all the other coaches are on the side, thinking it's the most disgusting thing. And
That's
I think
crazy.
pickle juice is amazing. So, um, yeah. So yeah, it's pickles. It's our thing. Yeah.
Now, we're almost out of time, but I wanted to hit
Okay.
on something that you mentioned and
Sure.
make sure we lift it up a little bit. You talked about the mental health
Mhm.
aspect. I am a firm believer that sports in general, not just
Mhm.
football, but I know my connection to the Muay Thai world, I've seen this time and time again, that being involved in a sport is a solution for mental health
Mhm.
and does help people find places to belong
Mhm.
and to grow as a person. And I could assume that's no different with female football, correct?
It's no different for female football, for high school football. It's
Right.
I've been told I had a mom start crying because I was the one safe person for her son.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he was going to go into drugs and into the bad. And I was like, "What do you mean?" I just would say hi to him. Like he would come into the gym and I'd be like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And
Right.
she's like, "But he was the only one you trusted. Like he trusted you, and you checked in on him without realizing." And yeah, it's as a coach, like it's not why I went into coaching, but it's becoming more the reason why I stayed coaching is if I
Right.
can help one person, go through like Olivia talked to me yesterday about something and she's like, "Is it okay if I talk to you?" And I was like, "Of course." And if I can help her out at any way or any of my players, like they know they can reach out to me at any time or any of the coaches.
Right.
Um, yeah.
And as
Well,
a student person, sorry, not to interrupt
no,
you.
go
I just
ahead.
want to see the student perspective of this, of like, I know I can, like the boy in your story, I know I can trust Dawn, and there's various coaches like that where we'll just start talking to them, and maybe they don't want to hear what we have to say, but it's us getting it off our shoulders, right? And
Right.
I this is for the boys too. I've heard multiple of my friends say this as well, where you could have the worst day ever and you could just feel so down, and then as soon as you're on that field and your helmet's on, it's like it all goes away.
Right.
You're there to focus on football, and it's taking your mind away from what's happening right now, and it's like you have a goal of what you need to do. And I think that's a really big part, and it's 100% helped my mental health as well.
Now, Olivia, just because I'm curious, like I said, we're almost out of time, but you two are fascinating guests. What does the future hold for you outside of football? What are your goals here? Because I have a feeling if I'm doing an Airdrie podcast in 10 years featuring great members of the community, that your name's going to come up. So, what does the future hold for Olivia?
If we're talking my dream, I really like
Yes.
photography, and I've been wanting to start a business with it. And I think one day to become like a filmmaker or a photographer for the NFL, NHL, like any kind of sports thing, I think that would be such an amazing experience. But if I'm gonna stay in Airdrie for the rest of my life, I was with a building program last year, and I worked with McKee Homes a lot.
Right.
And I really like project manager because you can just tell everyone what to do. And I was like that. I connected with that a lot. And so if I was gonna do something, I would go into the construction industry and be a project manager.
So, from quarterback to project manager seems like pretty transferable skills to me.
100%. Yes, yes, yes.
Don, final word on the
Yeah.
season. How are the Raiders going to do this year?
Oh, did you see the trophies? Did you see the trophy at home? Yes. We
Yes.
want to bring the trophy home, right? And I definitely want more girls going to Team Alberta. So that's my focus. All the U19 girls were invited last year, and Olivia's the only one who went. Oh, sorry, we had Fiona go as well. And I want all my girls to go. Like we have amazing talent, and I want to bring home those trophies for both the U16 and U19 team this year.
Now, for any girls who are listening, where do they go to register? Where do they go to find out more information?
Actually, if you go to the Airdrie Female Raiders Instagram, everything's I have a social media guru who puts everything on there, so
Awesome.
everything's on there. You can look at that and uh, you can reach out. You can reach out to myself, Olivia, but yeah, Instagram is the best place. Yeah.
Well, ladies, you're both very inspiring, and I'm really glad to have you on Airdrie Inside. This is exactly the type of story we wanted to tell because people see that there's a league, but they don't get to know the personalities and the people behind it. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today. And I look forward to having you both back on once we get that trophy coming home
Yes,
to
yes.
Airdrie or before the first home game to talk about the excitement from the season and what successes you guys have had.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris, for having us.
Yes, thank you
Excellent.
so much.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening to Airdrie Inside. We're going to be back with some more great episodes coming up next week. So,